Our book is Elegant Choices, Healing Choices by Marcia Sinitar. This is not a new book. I read this book during my practitioner training 108 years ago, and it wasn't even a new book then, but it's a good one because it gives us this idea that the elegant choice is the healing choice. Now, Marcia uses elegant the same way I do. I suspect I got it from her, though I don't remember that. Elegant doesn't mean fancy. We're not talking chandeliers and drippy diamonds. I'm not against that. That's just not the way we're using the word today. It means that flowing, gentle, natural choice. The thing that rises up from the inside, and you just know. You just know that's what you're supposed to do. That choice is inherently the healing choice. That's what the whole book is about. I just saved you 200 pages. No, I'm kidding. It's really good. It's really good. So I want to share a story about stepping into ministry for me. It's been a long time that I've known I was going to be a minister. I felt the call on my heart a long, long time ago. It took me a while because I had 5 little ones that are now big ones that I needed to shepherd through life before I stepped into this new phase. And as they are, flying off to college and beyond, I went into ministerial school. And the very last thing they have you do before you complete is this big visioning process. They want to know, what's your vision for your ministry? Or more importantly, what's God's vision for your ministry? What's God's vision for your ministry? And I was a little up in the air. I wasn't quite sure where I was going to land with that. So I did my visioning. And, with the visioning process, they ask you questions. What's God's highest vision for your ministry? What do I need to become for that vision to happen? What do I need to release for that vision to happen? And then there's a final question. And the final question is there anything else I need to know? Now, I'm used to that question being answered, if anything comes through, with something that's related to the big question, right? I'm asking about ministry. The message I got is my soul doesn't care. My soul doesn't care what my ministry looks like. It cares that I am serving powerfully in a principle-led ministry. And that's it. Serve the people who are in front of you. That was the message I got. So I'm expecting this last question to be something about that. And instead what I got very clear, was spend more time with Jen. Now, Jen's my best friend of a long, long time. And she's neat. She's here somewhere. She's a neat lady, and it's always a good idea to spend more time with Jen, but it took me a while sitting with it to figure out what? I mean, it might as well have said eat more cookies. Spend more time with Jen. And as I prayed on it, what became clear to me is that there is a level of joy that rises up in me when I spend time with Jen. Gosh darn it, Glenn, I'm already crying. I blame you. There's a level of joy that rises up in me because of that relationship and the depth of that relationship that I hadn't been making enough time for, and that joy was going to be essential in my ministry. So I did. So we talked about it at the time, and we started doing, y'all forgive me for this, we started doing teleconferencing. We live a good 15 minutes away from each other, And we're busy ladies. We've got stuff going on. So we started a weekly teleconferencing date. Whether we need it or not, we spend time together. And it has, in fact, deepened my joy and opened me up to another level of ministry. Why am I telling you this story? That is such a good question. We put so much energy into the big choices. Should I marry him? Which college should I go to? Should I move to that country or that state? Lots of energy into those, right? But it's the little choices, the little tiny everyday choices that define the beauty of our life. The big ones might tell us which road we're going to walk down, but it's the little ones that tell us if we're going to enjoy the road. if we're going to be more loving, more open, more kind. My soul doesn't care what my ministry looks like. It cares that whatever one of you or anybody else who comes across me feels God more deeply. Now, I love this community and I want to be here. I've made no bones about that. This is home for me. But that's not what my ministry is. My ministry is that little tiny, breath by breath, person by person connection. Right where they're at, right where you're at, right where I'm at. I know to my core that that is an elegant choice. I know to my core that that is the healing choice. I can feel it. And what I know is that each one of you have things like that, that when they rise up in your mind, when they rise up in your heart, you know. You just know they're for you. So that's what this talk is about. How do we connect with our elegant choices? How do we learn to trust them? How do we bring them into our life? So I like to talk about true truths. True truths are kind of my way of saying spiritual principle. Those things that are true no matter what. No matter what. Even when we really don't want them to be because we don't want to have to deal with it. So my first true truth is, inside each person is a knower that knows. Inside each person is a knower that knows. You've met your knower that knows, right? They're kind of mouthy. They're in there and they talk a lot. And you can tell when it's the knower that knows versus the one who just wants the cookie, right? They have a different voice. The knower that knows is that indwelling connection. What does science of mind tell us? The highest God and the innermost God is one God. One God. That's what Ernest Holmes says. The highest God and the innermost God is one God. The place where we connect is right here in the very center of our being. We don't have to go out there to look. You don't need another book. You don't need another class. I mean, come on, you do want more classes, but what we really need to do is listen to that voice and do what it is telling us. We know this. We know it deeply. Indwelling spirit, still small voice, God within, heart of Jesus. Call it whatever you want. In whatever religion you want, in whatever language you want. It's the same thing. When we get quiet and we ask, answers come. Answers come. Beauty heals. Truth heals. Coherence and order heal. That's elegance. Admiral William H. McRaven wrote a book called Make Your Bed. Make your bed. The little things affect us. Call your friend. Call your mom. Eat the flan. Write the poem. Dare to show it to somebody. Whatever your thing is, the little things are the things that make our world worth being in. Get up in the morning. Get showered. Blend your eyeshadow. I take blending your eyeshadow very seriously. I used to work for MAC back in the day. Here's the key, though. Only you know if the choice is elegant for you. There's a lot of advice in this world about what you personally are supposed to do. What are you supposed to do? Eat kale, don't eat kale. It depends on what week it is, right? Only you know if it's the elegant choice for you. So you have to go to that still small voice. It's the only place to go. You with me? True truth number 2. I am always at choice. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. That voice in you that's going, well, but not about the about that too. Well, not when yes, especially then. Especially when you're thinking, but I have to. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to do anything. The flip side of that is you don't get to get anything if you don't do anything. And you may not always love the consequences you get from your choice. But it's a much different thing to say, I am choosing to blah, 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 than I have to. I'm choosing to go to that party because I said I would. And I want to be someone who shows up. Or I'm choosing to take care of myself and stay home from that party because that's what my indwelling voice is telling me to do. Choosing. In the book, Marcia says, elegant choice is a life discipline, a way of staying mindful to what we are, to what we want, what we need, and to what we're actually doing. It means every time, not just the big times, every time something comes up, we stop and we breathe and we check in with the knower that knows. What's mine to do right now? What's mine to do right now? We all have things that are hanging out in there that we have not tried, that we have not dared to do, big or small, that we know we should, that we feel called into, and yet we hold back. And the language that lives around that is, I can't. Well, I can't do that. I can't start ministerial school. I have 5 kids in high school and junior high. That was a lie. That was a lie. I could have started. I chose not to. I chose to wait. What are you I can'ting or I have toing in your heart right now that your knower that knows has a different idea about? Leaning into the elegant choice means following that impetus. And here's the cool thing about it. When you follow the elegant choice, when you follow that path, the way forward is easy. The next step is clear. It's like God is just paving that path right in front of you. And all you have to do is take the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. And it's just right there every time. Every worthwhile thing you have ever done in your life, I would go to the mat on this. Every worthwhile thing you have ever done in your life, you were following that path of the internal knower that knows. You were listening to God as it whispered into your heart and into your life. Yes? Yes. And we are always at choice about if we want to continue that. And it's a discipline, and we got to practice it. And how do we practice it? By doing it over and over and over with every little decision along the way. Should I study for that test? Should I go outside and shoot 20 more baskets before practice? Should I go to that Pilates class? I'm not going to that Pilates class. My knower that knows is going to have to get noisier before that happens. It's choosing to admit what you want. It's choosing to go for your good. And it's deciding over and over and over and over again to do it, to just do it. True truth number 3, my life is an expression of the divine. There is only one life. This life is God. This life is my life now. That's what we teach here. There is only one life. That life is God. That life is spirit. That life is the internal knower that knows in me, that is giving me the clues, giving me the directions every moment about where my life can go. Not because I'm special, not because I studied, not because I went to ministerial school, but just because I breathe, because I am made of the Spirit that brought me forth. So there's nothing for me to be but God in form. God is all there is. There is not anything else. I can't emphasize this enough. If you walk away with one thing today, God is all there is. We have to be it. We have to be an expression of it. We're just God showing up in unique and perfect form. However, this is an interesting way for God to show up. I'm just saying. And so are you, and so are you, and so are you. We're each unique. And the reason I emphasize this is because if we are to follow that that knower that knows, that indwelling voice, the energy that powers that step forward is a recognition that this is what God wants and I am supposed to do it. And what I'm being called to do can't be done by anybody else in quite the same way. If it could be, Spirit would have called them. It would be their knower that knows that was being called into it. My life is an expression of the divine. I am unique. So my elegant choices are unique. Oh, I'm unique. And so are you. And the things that we're stuffing in that back pocket that we're not leaning into yet because there's some voice in our head saying, I can't, or not yet, or who do I think I am? Or, well, don't I just think I'm fancy? That is not the knower that knows talking. That's the voice of your dad or some teacher that was mean or somebody that doesn't deserve the rent in your head. The only one that gets to talk is God. And conveniently, it's indwelling. You're carrying it around. It's like pocket God. So you check in with pocket God. What does God say? You know exactly. There's not a person in this room, I would bet money, there's not a person in this room that doesn't know what that thing is that they have been resisting, that they know that that voice is calling to do. So here's what Marcia says. What should you do today? Start small, stay conscious, put your best effort, your highest virtue into your elementary choice. This is elegant. This heals. Those little choices are what make the richness of our lives. Those little choices, practicing them, is how we're ready when the big choices come. Inside you is a knower that knows. You are always at choice. And your life is an amazing and perfect expression of divine truth and power and beauty. So big, if you could see what I see, if you could feel what I feel from here, there is nothing you cannot be or do. It just is the truth. And so it is.